Let me tell you a quick story. A friend of mine spent thousands chasing horsepower, only to find his daily driver falling apart a year later. Why? He chose the wrong mods. Another friend? He upgraded a handful of smart components, and his car has run smooth, quick, and reliable for years. In this video, you'll see exactly what separates those two outcomes: the 13 smart moves and the 5 destructive traps every car owner should know. Number 1. ECU Tuning. Modern cars operate through an electronic brain, the ECU, or the engine control unit. It monitors everything from fuel delivery to ignition timing and adjusts thousands of times per second. Yet most drivers never think about the fact that this system can be tuned, much like updating software on your phone. What manufacturers give you is a safe, conservative map meant to handle wide conditions, not necessarily the best balance of performance. Here's the catch. Sloppy or generic tuning files can cause serious trouble. Run too lean and you risk melted pistons. Run too rich and you foul plugs and clog your catalytic converter. That's why professional tuning matters. Take a Honda Civic running Hondata or a Subaru with Cobb tuning. Drivers often see smoother torque curves, better throttle response, and a healthy bump in power, all while staying within safe parameters. Think of it like removing a limiter you didn't even know existed. With the right hands on the keyboard, your car wakes up. Just remember, more power means more heat, and that leads us straight into cooling upgrades. Number 2. Intercooler and cooling upgrades. Ever notice how your phone slows down once it starts running hot? Cars deal with the same problem, except the consequences are far more expensive. Heat robs power, stresses components, and if it isn't kept under control, it can force your engine to pull back performance just to survive. The reality is most stock intercoolers and radiators are designed only to handle factory output. They work fine under normal use, but once you add extra strain, like harder driving or a turbo tune, they hit their limits quickly. That's when intake air gets hotter, combustion turns less efficient, and reliability begins to suffer. Upgrading to a larger intercooler or thicker radiator keeps intake temperatures in check. Take the WRX or Golf GTI as examples. Owners often see stronger pulls and fewer instances of limp mode once cooling is addressed properly. By managing heat effectively, you're not simply chasing numbers, you're ensuring the engine's long-term survival. Next comes airflow, clean, efficient breathing. Number 3, high-quality intake filters. Think of your engine as a giant air pump. It can only perform as well as the air it takes in. Without a steady stream of clean airflow, performance and efficiency both start dropping. Yet many drivers underestimate the role of the intake filter, treating it like an afterthought instead of a frontline defense. The problem comes when people use the cheapest filters they can find. A poor quality filter can restrict airflow, making the engine feel sluggish, or worse, let abrasive dust particles sneak inside. That fine dirt doesn't just vanish, it scratches cylinder walls, wears piston rings, and shortens engine life. High-quality filters solve both issues at once. Brands like K&N or well-tested OEM, plus upgrades are built for balanced flow and longevity, offering smoother breathing while sealing out contaminants. Over years of driving, that translates to fewer headaches, steadier performance, and stronger reliability. And once an engine is breathing right, the next factor is what actually touches the road: your wheels and tires. Number 4, lightweight wheels and tires. Reducing unsprung weight is one of those hidden upgrades most people overlook, but it plays an enormous role in how a car feels on the road. Unsprung weight is everything below the suspension, wheels, tires, and brakes, and shaving pounds here makes the entire system respond faster. When that weight drops, the suspension doesn't struggle as much, which gives you better grip and smoother handling in real time. Here's where the mistake happens. A lot of aftermarket wheels look flashy, but end up being heavier than the stock ones. That extra weight can actually slow acceleration, increase stopping distance, and make the car feel sluggish instead of sharp. Lighter wheels flip that equation, especially when paired with sticky performance tires. Enthusiasts often report immediate improvements in steering accuracy without touching the engine at all. The payoff is clear: improved braking, quicker cornering, and more agile response. Choose the right size and tire compound, and daily comfort stays intact. Next, suspension tweaks refine those gains even further. Number 5. Sway bars and bushings. Ever taken a tight corner and felt the car lean so far you wondered if it could tip? That's body roll, and it's built into most factory setups on purpose. Manufacturers design suspension with a safe bias toward understeer so the average driver won't accidentally spin out. But the trade-off is sluggish handling that feels imprecise when you start pushing harder. This is where sway bars and bushings come in. A thicker sway bar links the left and right sides of the suspension, reducing how much the body tilts through a turn. At the same time, upgrading soft rubber bushings with stronger materials cuts flex and tightens response. The effect is immediate. Steering feels sharper, the chassis stays flatter, and corners become more predictable. What makes this upgrade so valuable is the cost-to-benefit ratio. With a relatively small investment, your car feels planted and balanced in everyday driving. And with sharper handling sorted, attention naturally shifts to improving how it flows and sounds. Number 6. Catback exhaust systems. A catback exhaust system is often one of the first upgrades enthusiasts consider. But it's not just about making the car louder. The real role of a catback is improving airflow after the catalytic converter, which can reduce restriction and let the engine breathe more easily. The difference is subtle compared to other performance parts, yet it still matters when you're aiming for balance. A common misconception is that installing a catback instantly adds massive horsepower. In reality, most cars see only modest power gains. The bigger advantage comes from the way the car feels. With less back pressure, throttle response sharpens slightly, and the exhaust note provides feedback that makes driving feel more engaging. Many owners describe the effect as the car feeling freer, not necessarily faster. The bottom line, a catback isn't about chasing dyno numbers. It's about rounding out performance, adding satisfaction, and supporting other upgrades. From here, the focus shifts back to suspension balance. Number 7. Balanced suspension upgrades. Suspension is always a balancing act. On one hand, you want sharp handling that keeps the car stable during spirited driving. On the other, you don't want every pothole and crack in the road sending shocks through the cabin. Manufacturers often lean towards softer setups to maximize comfort, but that can leave the car feeling loose and vague when pushed harder. Go too far in the opposite direction and it's just as bad. An overly stiff suspension might improve cornering on a track, but live with it day to day and every bump turns into a headache. That's why balanced spring and damper upgrades exist, to bridge the two extremes. Entry-level coilovers or OEM plus kits provide tighter grip, controlled body movement, and sharper response while keeping the ride civil enough for commuting. A well-chosen setup transforms the driving experience. Suddenly, trips to work remain tolerable, yet back roads feel alive and controlled. Reinforcing the structure takes this precision even further. Number 8. Strut and chassis bracing. Imagine running in shoes with loose laces. Your stride feels sloppy, no matter how strong your legs are. That's exactly how a car behaves when the chassis flexes under pressure. Even if you've already upgraded suspension or tires, frame flex can eat away at those improvements, leaving the steering vague and the body unsettled in corners. Strut braces and chassis bracing tackle that issue directly. By tying different parts of the frame together, these bars spread load more evenly when the car shifts weight. Instead of each corner flexing independently, the force transfers through the structure, tightening stability. It's especially obvious in hatchbacks and convertibles, where factories often design lighter frames at the cost of stiffness. The result is sharper control and a planted feel even under heavy stress, setting the stage for tackling bigger upgrades that actually increase airflow and horsepower. Number 9. Forced induction. Turbocharging or supercharging is one of the most direct ways to add serious horsepower. By forcing more air into the cylinders, you allow the engine to burn extra fuel and create significantly more power than it could naturally aspirate. The effect is dramatic. Suddenly, a modest car can feel like it belongs on a racetrack. But here's the risk. Forced induction without the right supporting mods is a guaranteed disaster waiting to happen. Extra air demands additional fuel, stronger ignition, and stronger cooling. Skip those steps, and you're looking at scorching cylinder temps, leaning out mixtures, or even cracked pistons. The upgrade must always be planned as a system, never in isolation. Handled correctly, the transformation is impressive. There are countless builds where a mild Civic, once seen as a commuter, emerges a 400 horsepower sleeper that surprises everything at a stoplight. Number 10. Underdrive Pulleys. Imagine if your engine could free up power without touching the cylinders, pistons, or valves. That's exactly what Underdrive Pulleys do. These simple components change how your engine drives accessories, like the alternator, power steering pump, and air conditioning. By slightly reducing how fast those parts spin, you relieve the engine of unnecessary drag. Most stock pulleys are designed for comfort and safety margins, not outright efficiency. They tend to create parasitic losses, where horsepower is wasted running accessories harder than they need to. Replacing them with underdrive versions adjusts the ratios just enough to lighten the load without harming reliability. It's not a flashy upgrade. You won't feel a sudden surge, but you will notice an overall improvement in efficiency. From here, protection-focused upgrades like oil catch cans become the next step. Number 11. Oil catch cans. Every time your engine runs, microscopic oil vapors slip past the piston rings and enter the intake system. You don't see them, but they stick to intake valves, throttle bodies, and runners, slowly coating them with residue. Over thousands of miles, that residue builds into thick carbon deposits that rob your car of efficiency. Left untreated, these deposits can do more than just cut performance. They disrupt airflow, raise intake temperatures, and in worst cases, lead to detonation inside the cylinders. That means knocking, lost power, and unnecessary stress on engine parts. An oil catch can is a simple solution. It sits in line with the crankcase ventilation system and traps these vapors before they ever reach the intake. There's no horsepower increase, but the benefit shows up in a cleaner, more reliable engine over time. Number 12. Performance spark plugs and ignition upgrades. A strong engine means nothing if the spark that lights the fuel isn't up to the task. Every cylinder depends on a clean, reliable ignition at the right moment. When plugs are old or weak, the timing falters, leading to misfires. Those misfires don't just waste fuel, they can cause raw gas to hit the catalytic converter, shortening its life and costing you money in repairs. Performance spark plugs and ignition coils step in to solve that problem. They're designed to handle higher compression and increase cylinder pressures without breaking down. This matters especially when you're running more boost or pushing the engine harder than stock conditions. Standard plugs may struggle under the extra load, while stronger parts ensure combustion stays consistent. Number 13. High-quality tires. All the performance upgrades in the world mean nothing if your car can't put power to the pavement safely. Tires are the only point of contact between your car and the road, so their quality directly determines how well everything else actually works. Without solid grip, even the most advanced systems lose their effectiveness. Cheap or poorly made tires can turn a capable build into a liability. They wear unevenly, lose traction in wet conditions, and stretch braking distances to dangerous levels. Premium tires, on the other hand, instantly change the driving experience. They improve stopping power, sharpen cornering, and provide the confidence you need when conditions turn unpredictable. Think of them as the shoes your car runs on. Upgrading them unlocks potential that was already there, waiting to be used. Now let's shift focus to 5 engine-killing mods you should avoid. Number 1. Cheap ECU plug-in devices. Have you ever seen those small plug-in devices online that promise instant horsepower? The ads sound tempting. Add 30 horsepower in minutes for under $100. They usually plug into your OBD-II port, claim to reprogram your ECU, and many unsuspecting buyers think they found a cheap shortcut to performance. Here's the truth. These boxes don't deliver more power. What they actually do is interfere with the sensor signals your ECU relies on. By feeding false data to the computer, they trick the engine into running outside its safe limits. That can make the car run dangerously lean, spiking temperatures, or overly rich, clogging your catalytic converter and fouling spark plugs. Plenty of owners have learned the hard way. Dealerships routinely deny warranty claims when they discover these devices caused a failed emission system or melted components. In the end, you don't get extra horsepower, you get a broken car. Number 2. Snorkel intakes and exposed filters. Open cone filters might look aggressive when you pop the hood, but appearances can be misleading. They sit in the engine bay with no protection, and while they might give off the impression of performance, the reality is the opposite. Without shielding, they often suck in the very thing you don't want: hot engine bay air, robbing the motor of cool, dense oxygen it needs for efficient combustion. The risks don't stop there. Exposed filters can also pull in water during heavy rain or when hitting deep puddles. When that happens, the engine risks hydrolock, where water fills the cylinders and destroys internal parts instantly. There are countless stories of cars ruined this way, all because of poorly designed intake setups. Number 3, fuel-saving magnets and air gadgets. Have you ever seen those miracle magnets or small air gadgets being marketed as instant fuel savers? They're often sold with claims like boost MPG by 20% or optimize combustion instantly. The appeal is obvious. Drivers want more efficiency without spending money on maintenance or real upgrades. But these items play directly on that desperation, and the results almost never match the promises. The science simply doesn't back them up. What they usually amount to is a shiny piece of plastic or a magnet slapped onto a fuel line with no actual effect on combustion. The fallout is subtle but expensive. At best, they don't do anything, wasting your cash. At worst, they interfere with air sensors or fuel delivery, creating erratic readings that affect performance. Number 4, cheap lowering springs and suspensions. Lowering a car to achieve a sportier stance always grabs attention, but doing it with bargain suspension parts can create serious problems. Suspension geometry is carefully engineered, and once cheap springs or cut coils are added, that balance is destroyed. The result is uneven tire wear, weakened ride quality, and a setup that feels unpredictable in real situations. Drivers often share the same complaints after using low-budget lowering kits. Bumps feel harsher, shocks blow out quickly, and handling becomes more dangerous rather than more controlled. In some cases, cars bottom out over speed bumps or potholes, leaving important components vulnerable. Instead of improving road manners, the entire driving experience moves a step backward. Number 5, aggressive tunes without hardware. Software tunes can be tempting because they promise quick gains without replacing hardware. A more aggressive fuel map can unlock noticeable power on paper, but engines are only as strong as the systems supporting them. Push timing, add boost, or demand more fuel than stock parts can deliver, and stress levels rise immediately. Heat builds, combustion runs unstable, and suddenly the so-called upgrade starts chipping away at reliability. Plenty of examples exist online of cars that lasted only weeks after aggressive tuning. Owners brag about dyno numbers one day, then return a short time later posting photos of cracked pistons or scorched valves. The missing pieces are always the same: no proper intercooler, weak fueling systems, or inadequate ignition parts to back up the extra demand. Every modification you make either protects your investment or turns it into a liability. The difference comes down to research and choosing parts that support the entire system rather than chasing shortcuts. When upgrades are planned correctly, they enhance performance and extend the life of the engine instead of weakening it. That's why the smartest approach is patience. Take time to learn, invest in quality, and never add power without thinking about reliability. Upgrade smart and your car stays strong for years. In performance, wisdom is horsepower, and patience is what keeps engines alive. If this helped you identify the mods that are worth it or not, tap like and subscribe for proven DIY tips. Be first to catch tricks with WD-40 that save you thousands in repairs when it drops.